così, chiedendo Dio, 진진 이거 미 포터 차례에 갔다 그래서 개그는 그러고 야, 잠깐만 하게. 나는 일단 왔어. 맨소리 미 인도도 지오로 가지.
So we begin with the Heart Sutra in English on page 2. Thus I have heard. At one time the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of Ultra Peak Mountain with a great gathering of monks and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time the Blessed One was absorbed in the samadhi of the many aspects of phenomena called profound appearance. At the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, saw the 5 skandhas and their natural emptiness. Then, through the power of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, "How should a son of a lineage trained who wishes to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom?" Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva answered the Venerable Shariputra with these words. Shariputra, those men and women of a lineage who wish to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should look at it like this. The 5 skandhas should be seen purely in their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form also is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are emptiness, and having no characteristics, they are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no phenomena. There is no quality of sight, and so on, until no quality of mind and no quality of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance, and so on, up to no old age and death, and no exhaustion of old age and death. In the same way, there is no suffering, no origin, no ending, and no path. No wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide by means of the profound perfection of wisdom. And since their minds have no obscurations, they have no fear. Transcending falsity, they attain nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the 3 times have relied upon the perfection of wisdom, and have become true and complete Buddhas of unsurpassable, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the profound perfection of wisdom, the mantra of insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra. The mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for it is not deceptive. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Teata om gate gate paragate parasam gate bodhi soha. Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and said to the bodhisattva mahasattva noble Avalokiteshvara that he had spoken well. Well done, O son of the lineage, it is so. O son of the lineage, since it is just so, the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Sharipati Putra and noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, and the entire gathering, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, rejoiced and praised the words of the Blessed One. Lamadang Gampo Jesu Yame Yama Joseph Amir Madre Jini Nita Namda Raza Jini Danko Jije Zije Niji Toka Levase Kata Sebi Zuriyama Meto Duma Jizebe Roso Gana Buji Tazi Yana Buju Yang Deso Ruda Chedo Nemo Nemo Liche Jado Ruzechi Mare Mise Dunye Nyugu Jene Jeze Radena Dene Dajin Sachu Tasu Luzo Jase Tu Juna Juna Juni Dalu Mixen Jabe Yana Arabatanadi 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 Seden Chuki Chirabu Zedi Dalu Dimum Barakanane Kanani Juju Bayi Loryo Babina Watabus. The short now offering on page 16. Saji Koti Joye Meto Jan Rirani Yin Jamani Sanye Yingo Minde Pulwaye Droge Nanda Yina Jubarasho Jetsu Nama Damba Jena Je Juga Kana Jete Jete Jeta Sabe Duje Ganala Saje Juje Java Vados Radamana Gandhi Astayane. The refuge prayer on page 22. Saje Chodang Saje Chonala Janjo Baradu Dane Josuji Tage Chuje Jive Sonami Rola Benjire Sanje Rupana Sanje Chena Toje Chonala Janjo Baradu Dane Josuji Tage Chuje Jive Sonami Rola Benjire Sanje Rupana Sanje Chena Toje Chonala Janjo Baradu Dane Josuji Tage Chuje Jive Sonami Rola Benjire Sanje Rupana
Amuzo shongi tsangde daya dato tembenro temba hindo kulin jungs tatari shuade saba shuade temba hindo kulin jungs ya tsite dani ma to shuna tatari tsi daya dato tembenro tatari kati muzo tanya sonji shesan bare 재산 대양 세야데 공안에 가르치거나 대교 강의 도지는 리듬이 제방배 다 근데 류스만 가도 저 류스만 때문에 단단한 마송대 저대야 포로대 대양으로 그래 류스만 치도 류스만 아니 다바 빼와 어때 단에도 류스만 기침벌에 내지도 맞추니 영어로 다지도 류스만 기침벌에 되는마 규제교리 대한다도 잼빈 루스 다 잼빈 루스야 대한 뒤다도 아니 잼바 되나 아니 디브메베 제방바디 루스 다 잼빈 루스 잼바가를 잼바가나 유지 잼비기 유로바소냐 아니 잼바다 시신 또 세신도 때문이나 아니 가서 그래 류 송도래 스타트 송발다는 좀 파사드가 때문에 좀 가르나 다지나 벌써 뭐 서래 계기에 대해지래 다다기 류 송이나다 치매나서 제가 치매나서 류 송이나다 다소 상마데다 간다 주다 지는 때네 주안로 대자장지 제 근데 주다 지는 때는 주안로 요소상 주다 지 상보지 되는 주아 상보지 로야다 주다 지는 받다 되는 주아 받지 로야데 다들 주니랑래 다리야 주제 거니 지모세게 신주지네 지모로와 지모초와 게 말때 karma karchiwana ta tamadon rasa myango drachare ne idiyo ji chu thwani kar suma inanda andar ko tenjin dribagi na yak thwani maranso ji so tsendere inaya rani chigo yu chadang ya ji pendo yana pepe chawa chi brunane ane so ya ti driba sambochi yonde ya chi an dele doa te rani mechewa chikdang shenle nyo dengi liga chanya tsangayina ane ten driba te rani line chibage kandar lyonga ya sonja liya kange tine ya chi te yonde ki chu thani ya te songa langu ine suya te re tene ine unso chu dan jite karo thani luwa ine ya kandar soso lyonga ya sonte yapo ju yunga la ju chengi tendi la rale de yu son tang juche sambochi soso trebayina antara tene driba sambochi ranele nogos na yonde ya chi soso juche sambochi matrena juche memba ju trebayina ante driba ranele ya jima dwechina thoda kwa de ya chi ta kwande chuni rangi bata
We have discussed on the verse 8, particularly the first line of verse 8. You actually do that by giving mindfulness at all times. So actually do that by giving a mindfulness at all times. What to do, what is meant by you actually do. What you do is to giving up all your fruitless movement. That is
Can you speak up just a tiny bit?
how Google Maps.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you actually do that by giving mindfulness at all time. And all the fruitless movements are here refers to the actions, the negative actions of the body, speech, and mind. Although it is not effortless, once you have already done the actions, whether it is negative or positive, you will always have a fruit. Whether it is, regardless of bad or good, or positive or negative, but you have fruitless. But here, in this particular fruitless, the fruitless should be understood in terms of engaging in negative actions. So to give up this, giving up those fruitless movements should be done on the basis of being mindful at all time. And And how do we give up those fruitless movements? It's by application on the basis of application of mindfulness. One relies upon the three high trainings, high trainings of the morality, high trainings of constitution, high trainings of wisdom. So, so here we're still on the process of discussions on the protection of one's body, because in the verse 4 we talked about the protecting one's body, the protecting, purifying, and enhancing. So we're still talking about how do we protect our body. When it comes to the protecting our body, it's protecting the body, that the present body, and then the protecting the body that is uh, to be accomplished by oneself in the future, in other words, our future body. So what is meant by protecting one's body is, protecting one's body by refraining oneself from engaging in all kind of negative actions of the body, speech, and mind. This is how we protect our body of this life, and body of our future life. And this can be done on the basis that we talked about earlier, basis of application of mindfulness and engaging in relying upon the teachings of the three high trainings. So, so here now we, just by saying that I would like to protect my body alone will not protect us, because in order to protect one's body, we need to seek the protection. What will protect us? What is the protection? What kind of protection that is needed? So the actual protection of one's body of this life and that of other, future life is uh, is done on the basis of engaging in and virtuous actions, which will become a cause, the actual cause for protecting one's body of this life and the future life. So, because here everything, the body or mind or speech or actions, everything that is uh, that exist are subject to undergo change or undergo transition, and in other words, all of this are transitory. So it is undergo change. So here now, since this is subject to undergo change, how do we change? What change that we need when we talk about protection of our body? What kind of change we need is we need a positive change. So positive change can be done on the basis of accumulating positive cause and positive causes and conditions. If one is able to accumulate positive causes and conditions, the result of uh, the positive result is unavoidable. It is a fact. We don't have to rely on any extensive, um, you know, reasonings, or we don't have to go through any kind of analysis. But this is the fact. We all know that. If there is a cause, the cause always produces a result. And then whether one will have a positive result or not is entirely depends upon the cause that one has accumulated. So therefore, once one should uh, one should if one long to achieve a positive result, one should accumulate the positive causes and conditions uh, that can give rise to a positive result. So it is through this positive accumulation, positive causes and conditions. In other words, the virtuous actions will protect one's body of this life and that of our future life.
다른데 좋아하는 건데 손도 템바 힌두 그린 중스 템바 힌두 그린 중스 자다 템바데 힌두 그발에 되니 용아래 소마다 가도잖아 가진 먼저 대하다도 템비 루스 템바 주요 템바시아데 센주지마 제주송 가진 먼저 주연바 인디드모 벌 센지 제바 메바데 넘버 메밀레 제스 자자 대요 젠지 대가 가르 템고는 근데 템비 루스 가르 템비 루스에서 와이나 안에 라로바송 송라 안에 템바다 희지 템비 왕기 루스에서 도서다 대대 템바 템비 루스에 템바다 가르 지니 용거리에서 라와이나 소다 라바송라 안에 템바다 희지 템발이 되니 루와이나 대대 템바데 가르 되니 용거리에서 되게 제대로다 들어가다. 제가 템바데 힌두 그린 중스 템바데 힌두 그발에 중거리 힌두세데 하장께서 왔다. 와 힌두스 아니 그발이 중스 그바 저다 그바세 가르레세야 돼요. 무슨 그바세야 가는 줄 알아서야 돼. 그바세야 돼 무슨 다그 지금 체주지 통 대가르로 통이로 라니리아 가르 침보도지 제등이 요나 라니들이 그거지로 와 소소 그게 난다 저 소소에 들어갈래 강에도 제 소소 랑되는 원능에게 간다 소소에 강에지 체비가래 소소에니 도로 보쟁에 저 하자나다고 도안이 소소리야 도스로 보쟁에 주어나 라니는 가르 치고 차고로 와. 저 대가리 대주들 때니 라니가 거래 그거 지로 와. 내지도 당은 배서 다르게 그요새 내지도 그거 하시라고 그래. 배서 찍사잖아. 이는 다들 근데 제바데 힘도 그거를 좀 세야 돼요. 주나 가르나. 근데 그요새 돼 랑로바 손나 닌타바니 그가지고 와요래. 랑로바 손나 닌타바니 그가지. 랑로바 손나 닌타바니 그요래. 라바 손데 가서 공시마 타바들에 라바 손데 라바 띵는데 라바 셔르지 라바스. 대손나 안 소소기 아니 그가지 고와래. 다 대손 그가 간다 용거나 다 라바 손나 소소기 로로체. 단단히 쇼하는지나 쇼하다고 쇼하고다지나 최상고선제 동봉말이야 라라바송을이야 퇴바제 단지 상바제 공바제 저 퇴바제에서 소소가 마시바데 시바제 도와제 내주도 소소가 동봉말이야 내 퇴바제 퇴비 되한테 소소게 엔텔레 신주제 제 아니 제비 제달을 소소가 그래 지내가 때려 소소그 양이 양도 공리대 양이 양도 공리 안 소소그 줄이야 똑같이 중문도 도시유 나한테 자상 라바송은 내수의 투바제 신주제 양양 공리대 베트라 때니 랑이 줄이야 쇼안에 소만 나시고 똑같이 지금 누나 안 소소게 나를 제단데 찾아다니면서 주말에 다시는 수만 나시기 조상고도 야마도 나를 집에 들어갔더니 소소들에 똑같이 지금 무슨 야는 소속이 나를 제단 만들래 야는 추진남 다시 많이 배이고 그래 어떤데 제가 니들 근데 제가 힘도 그린 중무세 그래서 그바세야 돼 랑로가 소나 님 타바니 아니 그바지 Congress,
So, such mindfulness, that mindfulness we discussed on mindfulness during our previous session. We spent quite some time on the discussions on mindfulness. So mindfulness consists of three features. It is object, subject, and functions, right? We talked about that. So mindfulness is not an actual primary mind. It is a mental factor. So we talked about that. So this is the kind of mindfulness we are talking about here when we talk about when it says that actually you do that by being mindful at all time. And again here, being mindful at all time with regard to the three high trainings. And such mindfulness should come from sharp attention. In here in this translation, it says sharp attention. It is guilejung in the Tibetan, which means this mindfulness must, in literal translation, I'm not saying this is not a correct translation, okay? This is, the literal translation is gui means a reverence. You have a reverence for having an intense respect. From that, the mindfulness arises. In the original text, the Tibetan text is mindfulness comes from guiba, guilejung, which means gui means reverence. So it comes from reverence. Reverence with regard to what? Reverence to three high trainings. That is what it means. And so the being mindful of mindfulness, should come from sharp attention, should come from reverence towards three high trainings. So the three high trainings, must be first, receive the teachings on three high trainings, listening to the teachings of three high trainings. Listening means not just mere listening. One should have an intention of knowing what is not known by oneself. That is what is meant by listening in this context. One should listen to the teachings. In other words, learn the three high trainings. And having listened to the three high trainings, one should then contemplate on the three high trainings. It's not a single pointed concentration we're talking about here. Contemplate is it is more like analytic, uh, contemplating analytically. In other words, one must analyze the meaning of the teachings that one may have received on three high trainings. And after the final analysis, one will then be able to gain this attainment. One will be able to gain the actual knowledge or the realization of the meaning of the three high trainings. One then engage in meditations. So this here now is the mindfulness is something that become a basis for learning three high trainings. By learning three high trainings, knowing the three high trainings and knowing the meaning of three high trainings and understanding the benefits of learning the three high trainings, one then have a great reverence and respect to three high trainings. And when you have this, the irreversible respect or the reverence towards three high trainings, then the mindfulness that we talked about here this mindfulness will then arise, simultaneously. With that kind of, mindfulness, one can then learn, contemplate, and meditate effortlessly.
제가 라로바송라 아니 힌두 그게 유아다 나다 라바송라 아니 힌두 그가 간다서 용거래서 상보 달라바송이야 그러면 라바송이야 그가 지어서 그가 지어와 그가 지어라 라바송데 아니 소소하게 지 그가 지어야게 근님보 유바제다 체주 유바지 소소하게 응원해 시그로 때마 힘을 될 테니 그가 지시기 말아 자당 tene de molia lava sonlia lava mal lava sonna rani kuba yo ji jawala lava son ne chete shiudwa da mone bage cheje do jina lava son ne che theba sam goni so so jele ni mone bage dribo to ba ji jena ani mone lava son sang de nale jena mone dribo to ba ji ando ni mone jaja jata ba so so ke be tele 그가 야보지 세대지 제도 살아와. 자, 내가 라바소는 그가 저 나무다. 라바소는 제도가 투가 상게 자자다바 그가 제가 말하는 라바소는 투가 상게 줄도가 제가 말아. 때 주문이 밖에 님부 다도록 여바지 소설 때도 여만하다 잖아. 자자 때려야 하는 강 투가 돼 소설이 더 야야 상니 안도서 제 메트냐 그게 세대적 공원이 소소지는 문님 지금 똑같이 추구나 아니 문님 라바서 나래지니 지금 똑같이 세대적 말하는 추구 문님 중앙도 다 자서 자타면 소소를 등기 받지 니 라바서야 제주의 돈을 라바서 문님 그가 아니 도와주면 받지 용거에 살아봐 제가 어때 내지도 알아 라바서나 닝타와니 그가 지금 내려오는 도와 제가인데 라바소는 지방에 니타반이 그가 세대 있지와라 라바소는 투성 거서 지금도 마송와라 라바소는 되니 그가 세대지 지도서 말아와.
So to have a genuine reverence and respect to three high trainings, one need to know what kind of benefit one may gain out of it. What is the essence of those three high trainings? So in order to know that, in order to gain a knowledge of the benefit that we may gain out of relying upon for three high trainings, one must then first listen to the teachings of the three high trainings, contemplation and meditations. Just by mere listening to the teachings of three high trainings alone will not enables one to have a deep respect and reverence to the three high trainings. One should wholeheartedly listen to the teachings of the three high trainings. Whatever the teachings that you may have received with regard to three high trainings must be contemplated. The meaning of this must be contemplated and analyzed repeatedly. Then one after the final analysis, one should then carry on one's meditation on three high trainings. With this process of learning and practicing, one will then be able to have a realization of the three high trainings. When we gain the realization of the three high trainings, one will then be able to have an irreversible or indestructible reverence and respect to respect towards towards three high trainings.
제가 rātūna rāñjūle tōpa tīdenchi chūng. Nā āne lāpa sōna kūpa tōta mē pa chūng sari. Tēnā jī mā chūngwa yīne lāpa sōna ya sōsō tūpa jēni āne yūnsē yāng tāla tēni yāng kō jūla tōpa mā chūngwa yīne kātā yūnsē yāng tāla tēni sōsō kī lū jāja jāsa mā lāpa sōna ya āne bē ye che na ane kuba ya tenda yung go yorwa tenda la teni ane ya treba cheta chi yung go yorwa jasan kaan da jang laba song la ane so so muni laba song la nyingbo tong ni che chu tong ni kuba ma che chenje la ane laba song la ya treba ta shi ji ten se de yung go yorwa ma re yung to go yorwa ma re jasan laba song la treba ta shi ji ten wala tēlē sōsō mūni gui rō jī tēlē chēshū rō jī tōng nēn lāpa sōng lé ya tēpa tā shī jī tēni nāng lé jī wā yung wā rō wā chē tā ngō lé ya lāpa sōng lé ya āni jī pā kī gui rō kā kē mē na lāpa sōng lé tēpa tā shī jī tēn yā kī yung wā mā rō wā chē tā tēn tū tēpa hī tū gui lī chūng mō sī lāpa sōng lā āni gui yā kō jī chūng wā yī na āni tē tū rā tēni lāpa sōng lā ane tenpa tan xie xie ten ji yung wale yes na zuo ten xie song wasa.
So it is therefore the mindfulness in this context, so we're not talking about all the mindfulness should arise from by by having reverence towards three heightened and certainly not. In this particular context, when the mindfulness that we're talking about, the mindfulness with regard to the three heightenings, because without knowing the subject matter of the three heightenings, and how can we have a reverence towards three heightenings, respect and reverence towards three heightenings, and without having respect and reverence towards three heightenings, it is certainly not possible for one to have a mindfulness of three heightenings. One will not be able to be a mindful of three heightenings, in other words. So, at best, it is to have a realization of three heightenings. If that is not possible, one should listen to the teachings and rely upon the scriptural reasonings. And by relying upon the reasonings, one will able to know, one will able to have a certain knowledge of the benefit that one may gain out of practicing three heightenings, which will enable one to have one to generate a genuine respect and reverence again towards three heightenings. With this genuine respect and reverence will then give rise to a genuine mindfulness with regard to three heightenings. So without knowing three heightenings, without receiving the teachings on three heightenings, certainly it's not possible for one to have this reverence and respect, deep reverence and respect towards three heightenings. And without having deep respect and reverence to three heightenings, one will not be able to have a mindfulness of three heightenings. And and without without having the mindfulness of three heightenings, one will not be able to protect one's body that we talked about earlier. Protecting one's body is is not something that you seek protection from some kind of harm, external harm, you know, um, and so on. But rather, it is to engaging in virtuous deed which protects our body of this life and that of future life.
제가 달라가서 내가 같이 와라 되는 니보 통보를 주제는 통보를 했어. 다도 무서 내려야 아 어떤 제고래. 라라가서 아니 주자증에 되는 손다 무서 저 때려장고래. 되는 손다 장고래. 되는 손 가르쳐 제거는 라바서 주제 제고로. 달라가서 가르쳐 이메 주제 되는 되는 손 마도스. 손도와 제가 가진 것도 은천진 손이 그래야 소다 장세 상하게 천진 도스 그들어서 뭐여와 제가 대인도 너가 천진을 나바데 아니 되는 손만에 저 아니 되네 나래야 저 손용 거 대인도 너가 천진을 나발아야 아니 그거 제와라 아니 되는 손만에 되네 도래야 소소 공리 tempo 공리 때서 다 주는 제고 달로는 제고 대나지 너가 땡임지 나와 레야 아니야 제가 제와라 안데 주제 제게 되는 되는 송나네 너데되네야 아니 소소 최상 제고 최상 너데되는 최상 제고나 알아봐 땡임지 라 봐서 간다이메 엔데 나야 도와 소용 거로 아니 대나지 글로 싫어질라와 야 싫어질라 말이야 그 말이 아버지 제와나 엔데 주제 제베 되는 소만에 아니 몸이 되네 어떤 손놈이 되냐야 어디 제거래 조상 제거를 저때 소리야 러버서 주제 제가 되는 소리야 소소 조상적으로 전체 어떻게 아버지 도이나 안들어봐 선생님 때문에 간다지 메토드 선언의 뜻이 소유도 소소문이 저기 뜻이 지우비 그래는 눈에 봐봐 선생님 다시 이제 도 상배 하는 소소문이 때문에 니보 토니 대 제주 통비 토니 소소 줄이야 제비 아니 그가 되지 제도야로 때 그가 되지나 아니 라바소네야 또 템바 때야게 안 메시지 용으로와 어떤데도 템바히도 그냥 주모세야 어떤데 지으래
So now we talked about earlier that one should have a reverence and respect towards three high trainings. And based on, the reasonings, the scriptural reasonings we talked about earlier. So in order to understand the three high trainings, one should know the text that contains three high trainings. In other words, Tripitaka, which we call this is the Tripitaka, is the one that needs to be the Tripitaka is the one that contains the three high trainings. Here, this is also known as three baskets of the teachings. And the three baskets of the teachings contains three high trainings. In other words, for instance, here the teachings of the Vinaya or the Vinaya Pitaka contains the teachings of morality. We mentioned about, we also discussed on morality briefly during our previous sessions last uh, last week. But primarily, there are three kinds of morality: the morality of individual liberation, morality of bodhisattvas, and morality of sacred mantrayanas. Those are the primary, you know, those three moralities are the primary categories of the morality that we need to know and we need to learn. And is uh, this is precisely taught in the Vinaya Pitaka. And the next is uh, um, Sutra Pitaka. The Sutra Pitaka is one of the basket of the teachings, which contains uh, the teachings on concentrations or the meditation, in other words. And then the other one, the third one is the Abhidharma Pitaka. The Abhidharma Pitaka contains the teachings of wisdom. So we need to learn and receive the teachings on those three, and the Tripitaka, or those three baskets of the teachings. By receiving the teachings, one will then be able to have a genuine respect and reverence towards those three higher trainings. This will then give rise to the mindfulness or the mindful of those three high trainings. It is for this reasons why it says is mindfulness should come from deep reverence and respect. Here it says sharp attention. That is pretty accurate, but in a literal translation, it's a deep reverence and respect.
Jandade Tembakido Kuri Jungsia, Labas of the Dunion, that the news of the Labas of the Shadow Yoga, the body Vagina, Labas of the Dunion Sonteki, and the Labas of Nesutuma, and the Shadow, the Quadivorigina. Labas the Kanakana imitated Dunion Song and Deshate number Jata, Labas of Deshe Dunion of the Abahana. And when Jesse the Hapana and go by Labas and Kanaim also, or Quadio, and Deshe the Divas and Deshe the Tene and Cote to that daughter, to that of none, then that the Lias of Kabashi or what name. Keche, that Tebaki village said the Tondo with Jana, Yud Telaya, and the Temba, Ashia, what it temper you are la, Yud Tela. Nalia, so Kibaya was Jetta Redan, and you tell us so Kibaya was Jettoina, and you tell her Timothy with that you would ask for the legislation.
So there was three uh, baskets of the teachings, or the Tripitaka is the text that actually explains on the three high trainings of the morality, high trainings of concentration, of meditations, high trainings of wisdom. So, in brief, in order to have a mindfulness with regard to three heightenings, one need to know about the three heightenings, and one need to have, by knowing, having known the three heightenings of the meanings of the three heightenings, one then uh, generates deep respect and reverence to three heightenings. This will then give rise to the mindfulness with regard to three heightenings.
That's anybody marvana. Guni yivi chiwani, shibar chuni, tumbi jese. Tandi, temba de hidu kubale nyungre sete. Ta kubale kandajirena, ani yivi chiwani ese. Chata guni yivi chiwani, kubale de kandi, labason hidu kubale tema nyungre kubale, ani yivi chiwani shivar sambu, tamuso hidese anuwachi. Shiva sayuro, chowa shiva. Sayuro, chata kuyo sayade. Tela teni kubayo na, tela teni chowa di yoshigi marwa. Ko, yo kaya ruwa le, soso chowa di na, tela teni shiva yoshigi marwa. Yo tela shiva yu na, yo tela teni chowa yoshigi marwa. Chata kuyo, kuba sayade, shivi ki chechu yogi jire. Chata soso rani sura ya kubayo na, tela chowa di yoshigi marwa. Tela chowa jigo na, tela kuba di yoshigi marwa. Chata tene kuyo sayade, kuba sayade, ane yiwegi chechu, chewa sayade, chechu rupjire, chewa sheba sayade, chechu sheba sayade, chewa nyes. Shibar junes, tenagi nesu di sosoki shibar juni, ane tumbi je sayade, mbezwe jeni, tsowa teni, te shibar juni, ane tele soso mbezwe je wayna, ane rani julia, te kuba di je tugures. Watane yu kuni yu chiwani shiba juni tumbi je sayade. Kuba kuyu sayade yuwe dani je. Yuwe ki chishu dendenge. Tena jimba te soso ki shiba juni en tene myuntuni mbyosi jeba ina en tumbi je es. Tumba sayade tsumba. Tsumba tenpa, mbyosi jeba. Mbyosi tenpa. Watane jire tumbi. Yes, what the legis are.
So then here it says, with effort, if with effort, this attention becomes what is called the greatness of peace. Here, now, here it says, with effort, this attention, or with effort, this great respect and reverence towards three high tenets, in other words, will become what is called the greatness of peace. And this respect and reverence, in this particular context, we're not talking about overall respect and reverence, but in this particular context, the respect and reverence has some quality of quiescence. It is a quiescence or some quality of peace.
Equipoise?
Not equipoise, quiescence. Quiescence.
Oh.
Quiescence. You got it?
Quiescence.
Quiescence.
Okay.
some quality of quiescence, and that will then become this will then give rise to actual peace of mind, what it says. Because when you have this deep respect and reverence towards these three high tunings, and this will prevent all kind of agitations, distractions, and so forth. Because you are deeply you actually you yourself is actually submerged into the three high trainings, and you have such a great respect and reverence, your genuine respect and reverence towards three high trainings, and that reverence, respect, and reverence have some quality of peace, mental quiescence, and that will then uh, that kind of the quiescence is what we call is greatness of peace that can be achieved by oneself. So so here it says then this which becomes that what is called the greatness of peace, and this should be arising from putting an rigorous effort. The respect and reverence, as we talked about earlier, will not arise within us automatically. It should it should be achieved with effort. What is meant by it should achieve by effort is by putting in effort to listening to the teachings of the three high trainings, contemplating on the meaning of three high trainings, and meditating. With this kind of efforts of listening, contemplating, meditating, one will then have this great respect and reverence, which then can call, which will then, ease one's mind or give rise to a genuine peace of mind. That is what we call the greatness of peace. Any questions?
Again, I think, Geshe-la, you talked about this before, but could you talk a little bit about the difference between this ease and quiescence and the state of mind of calm abiding, and how calm abiding is different and supersedes this kind of quiescence.
근데 내가 시원생인데 시원스시도가 구인이 시위치원이 있어요. 시원대 갑자기 시원대 가르쳐래. 근데 시내에야 고를 배세를 시내 다들 갑자기 손잡이 시원이 바로 야매디 시내를 쓰고 있나 야매디 구인이 시위치원이 있어요. 시원대다 시내인이 디바라야 군이 바라 들어가야 되나서 되지를 시간 시내
저한테 시와 군이 시와서야 돼 시내는 권해 들어가지래 저상 전부 그거는 그거 시지는 중세야 된다 그래
그래서 생겼어 있어
전부 그거는 중된다 전부시도 그래 중 그거한테 시질 때니 중세야 시지 요하면서
올라오라고
시지 시내는 중세야 된다 그래 제가 된다 했잖아요 그니 시와서야 돼 시내랑 권해 좀 야인지미지 시내랑 고모 봐 시내 마동하고야 시와 뭐 보여봐 시내서야 돼 라미 모바라 신장에서 배우거니 근데 라미 모바라 매매를 주고 띵엔데스 근데 저거 거래 시내 인지미지 근데 저거 거래 시와 임봤잖아 시내니까도 거고요 말해 이날 단데 양 그니 시위치와니 그 세다는 가서 전바히도 그린 중세하게 전바 중세고 그바시야도 와 전대를 그바데 그런 지주 가는 줄나 아니 유다니지. 어디다가 치유 여기는 지에서 다들 시위 치유세 그바데 라주나 신내야 자초래 아니야 지신내 많이 바이나요 아니야 시위 넘버 지시다데 고쳐지래 이미지 신내랑 고모가지.
So this, the reverence and respect can be a calm abiding, or it can be mere the mental peace. But there are many possibilities of that. So we here in this the verse what is the verse we read it here, it says, with effort this attention becomes what is called the greatness of peace. And this greatness of peace is coming into being from having the great reverence and respect towards three high trainings. And having the great respect and reverence towards three high trainings as a quality of peace. And that doesn't necessarily mean it is a calm abiding. We're not talking about calm abiding. But it can be calm abiding, depends upon the practitioner's level, the level of practitioners. So here now, one thing that the sequence that we must understand here is that in this particular context, the reverence, the mindfulness must be coming into being from great respect and reverence towards the high trainings. With this mindfulness will then give rise to eventually it will give rise to calm abiding. So in general, the mental questions or the greatness of become what is called the greatness of peace. This peace, in general, doesn't necessarily be the mind, calm abiding, but it can be calm abiding. Entirely depends upon the practitioners, the level of practitioners, because some practitioners may have some kind of greatness of peace, the great peace of mind, that they have gained certain level of greatness of the peace of mind, but that doesn't mean that individual is actually achieved calm abiding. In order to have calm abiding, just having the mental peace, uninterrupted mental peace alone will not qualify the individual, not automatically consider the person has achieved calm abiding. In order to achieve to have calm abiding, one should attain mental and physical pliancy. So there could be someone who can have a greatness of peace without being achieved, physical and mental pliancy, which means the individual may have the greatness of peace, but that individual has not achieved calm abiding it.
So it would also seem to me that it would be possible, because you don't have to be a Dharma practitioner to achieve calm abiding, that you could achieve calm abiding without this greatness of peace. So how is that experience different for someone who's not a Dharma practitioner? If someone who's not a Dharma practitioner can achieve the mental pliancy of calm abiding, but they haven't developed this reverence, how is that different?
When I'm showing them, are you talking about Buddha Dharma? Or
Well, so it's
because there
possible
are,
to achieve
there
calm
are many
abiding without being a Dharma
who can
practitioner.
achieve calm abiding
Yeah.
without relying on the Buddha Dharma. That doesn't necessarily
Right.
be Buddhist
Well,
practitioner.
Well, no, it is possible to achieve calm abiding without being a Dharma practitioner. You don't have to be one. You don't have to be a Buddhist
No.
to achieve calm abiding.
No, not at all. Yeah.
So that being the case, how is that
Difference.
piety difference from this greatness of peace that we're talking about here? It comes from respect for the three high trainings.
And that big kansa chigi kyoli atanda diyo wagisa. Dese wadanda de kuatanda gwini shiwi chiwa nisanda de shiwi chiwa nisanda. De danda kapdil shiwi chiwa nisa shiwi chiwa de ta peneji kansa shenji kyoli atanda. 인지민주 곧 나중에 냠내 제비 켜게 말아서 빼는 미지 나중에 냠내 맞이게 다 가서 신식이 교리야 소래 에 신내 신내기 도번에 가서 주로 봤어 나고 많이 비치로 봐 그래서 대 교리 된데 구인이 시위체와 니세들이 지체와 니를 회교를 여러 봤을 같은데 이 시위 근데 고위교를 딱 한다 시원 남다 시위 되고 왔어. 시원 남다 시위. 이내다 고위교이 시원 남다 근데 시위 근데 시위 체원이 생이 시위 되다. 아니 간서 취 근데 나버스면 냐면제네 시위 교리 깨되게 이미 para que va caer menos.
예.
Isso.
다 그런 당보 남비 추 미쟁이 가다 줄이야. 신의 요리에 세지로 태요래 가나 신의 세대 지난 도모하게 나래서 그래. 근데 지난 도모하게 줄지 아용이 줄에. 다소 세대다 저런 줄에 용거야 말해. 좋아. 하도 돈 돈이도 돈만이 걸려 용거가 신의 세대 요래. 대체체 다니버데 데르 라바송이야 아니 와는 때니 신에스 다시와 신에게 신에다 라바송은 마데비 신에 용이 지가 가려서야데 라바송은 때운데 라바 추르지 라바 때운데 추르 나니 만나치가 뭐래 저렇게 되네 추르도 따와 좋아하는 여러와 제가 대소데 추르 나다 말에 대략 전에 지금지 다 되는지도 모르겠어. 이내다 라바시라지라 발라온데 근데 남의 줄라온데 라바시라지라 봐. 저다 돈도 비시라 돼요. 제가 신에게 많이 다도는 되어 차요. 제가 내인데 나 라바스는 나는 미쟁이 신에 되더니 다도는 돈을 코니바로데 요요 말해. 제가 라바스는 나는 지금 강대기 중에 아니 시에 되더니 다도는 내가 니바 하고지 요야 되고 하더래. 대략지 봐 요야다. 그 누드르시나. 다들 많이 좀 보여.
So this greatness of the peace, greatness of the peace can be achieved by both Dharma practitioners or non-Dharma practitioners. It can be achieved. But the greatness of the peace, the difference between the greatness of the peace that is achieved by the Dharma practitioner and the non-Dharma practitioner is the assessment of this two is whether or not becoming a remedy towards our afflictions. Because here now, of course, there are many beings who achieve this, not only this peace of mind, but also the very authentic shamatha, or authentic, calm abiding, based on perfection practice, the perfect practice of the actual meditative observations or mental stability. They attain the perfect shamatha. But this shamatha is just limited on that level itself, on that, in other words, the non-dharma practitioner's shamatha. And they will not, why this will not become a remedy for the mental affliction is because this will not, develop, they will not put an effort towards the development of achievement of special insight. But the Dharma practitioners, not only that they've become complacent of just having shamatha, but on the basis of the shamatha, they put in effort to further development of special insight, which will then become a direct remedy towards mental afflictions. And so, someone who achieved this greatness of mental peace on the basis of relying upon the three high trainings, and someone who has gained greatness of the greatness of the peace without relying upon the three high trainings. It's a great difference. That's a great difference between the two. Because even in the morality, when we talk about the morality, there's someone who is a non-dharmic, or someone who is not a dharma practitioners, who gain the greatness of their peace, but they have no moral ground of. In fact, there are many practitioners, the Tritikas, have their way of morality is something that is actually opposite of what the Dharma, the opposite of the moral disciplines in accordance to Dharma. And so there are big differences because they are not being, those beings are not even being able to have actual moral ground of morality of individual liberations, morality of bodhisattva, and morality of sacred mantrayana. And there could be some similarities when it comes to the concentrations, but then when it comes to the wisdom, it is completely the opposite. Wisdom is completely opposite because according to the Buddha Dharma, when we talk about wisdom, we talked about the wisdom realizing emptiness that becomes a remedy towards our afflictions. But we are taking Attiticus, when we talk about wisdom, and they not only that they do not have the realization of emptiness, wisdom realizing emptiness, but they don't even accept emptiness. So therefore, the big difference, in brief, the difference between someone who is practitioner of Dharma and someone not practitioner of Dharma is to becoming this the greatness of the peace serve as an antidote towards affliction or not?
대단한 말에 시장에 있으면 그냥 랑 못봐라 매매를 주는 집에 띵인데 신에게 되는 진짜 대장에 집어시라요 말이야. 나주를 마장에 가서 주기 신에 대다 나주를 정에 가서 주기 신에 신에 장 집어요 말고 그 열에 내셔 때 보더라. 시장에 있으면 집어래 랑 못봐라 매매를 주기 띵인 장 집어래 때 얘네야 신에 대다 총대도 주베기더니 생주시럽다고 제와이나 나주를 장에 대해서 시럽도를 파동과 저기 니바지 무세요 되지래. 저 다른 초대를 이제 가지기 전에 먼저 유주하지. 그래서 하고 지역에 신의 열에 내쳤던 거였다는데 저희가 해서 말아.
So there's no difference between the karma abiding or shamatha itself, between the karma abiding between the Buddhist practitioners or someone who is not a Buddhist practitioner. But they're supporting factors. There's a big difference in supporting factors of this of the shamatha. Because the Dharma practitioners, their shamatha is completely supported by accumulation of merits and purifications. Whereas others, there isn't much accumulation of merits and purifications, but mere observing on single quantity on one object and perfected that concentrations. Whereas Buddhist practitioners, when they engage in practice, when they practice shamatha and calm abiding, there are many purifications and accumulation of merits are involved. Any other questions? Any questions now? Question may have done.
다음에 들어가면이나 주시는 거 있겠네. 다음도 당연히 진짜는 제가经历 지금这些学法的熊学做见的你的东西都是学法的因为那的送的走东路教呢그래서 대체 주의하게 당하지 세 타고 되거든 지나 말아서 대체 되는 와서 있나로 거세제서도 쓰이나요 제 눈에 되게다 대체 되게 자자래 제가 쇼한테 저기다 쓰세요 제 가래 되고 저로 배저로 어느 방에 지 버서로 저한테 대체 주의하게 당하자 송거 근데 말아서 쇼는 송반나시 저거와 라고 여자로 매자로 간다죠 버서로부터 대지부터 당하지 되고요 내일도 말아서 소소 대지도 줘야 돼 제가 챈들이 있는 대지도에 저희만 나서 있네서 대지 유학에 대지도 보고 보여야 돼 제가 챈들이 대지 있나요 주전 때니 요구야지래 제가 치만 나서 되지네 주전 때니 요구야지래 챈데 되지데 주전 가르칠 때니 요문도 모두 되면서 소소 신주제나 또 포대고래 다 챈데 되지데 주소 간다지래 때니 요문도 되소소게 요거 치마지네 제가 치마게 되지데네요 대단 좀 주소지를 내고야 돼 지거라와 챈데 되지데 챈데 되지데 주소 선보질려나 봐도 요거 되지해야 돼 되지들이야 무슨 되지 오다 책 되지 포기 되지 다 좋은 것도 포기 되지 계시면 저거라 포기 되지 저도 제대로 못 깔리 저거라면서 말이야 그것도 그래서 제가 이제 끌리 저거로 이나 대끌리 저한테 뭐인데 포기 되지 저런 것도 뭐니 그래 저거로 그래서 가능한 수에 되지야 돼 선택이 되지 않아요 지금 포기 되지 대리 끌리 전에 되는 봐 나와 지금 로지가 봐서 차라 가야 받을 되지 하고 유튜브에도 근데 로지스 끌리 전에 저저로 저한테 이제 선택이 포기 되지 되네 저서 가는 줄 때네 용어도 신조지 제 대야 보지 두데네스나 저 정말 되지 되네 근데 포기 되지 되네 저서 아마 되지 되네 용어에 받는 것도 저마저 도로 되네 되지 되네 뭐서 되지도 한번 당한테 많아 타는 메시지가 이렇게 좀 그래
So whatever the discussion that we may have today or in our previous sessions, we are discussing on the teachings of the Buddha. So teachings of the Buddha or the teachings of the Buddha Dharma always teaches us how do we achieve happiness and overcome sufferings. Because the objective of our human beings or all sentient beings, we all have a common objective, which is to aspire to attain happiness and overcome sufferings. Now, achieving, happiness and overcome suffering cannot happen from nowhere. Whether it's happiness of this life or happiness of future life, or temporary happiness or the permanent happiness, all coming into being from its own causes and conditions. Whatever the experience that we may have at this point, or in this life, in other words, all depends on the causes and conditions that we may have committed or we may have accumulated in our past life or in this life, our early part of our life or the middle part of our life, or we may have something that we may have done something, yesterday, you may experience the result today, and you may have done something even hours ago. You will experience the result at this time. So all of this, with whatever the experience that we may have, whether it is mental or physical experience, whether it is pleasurable or unpleasurable, are all as its own causes and conditions. Now, since all of this coming into being from its own causes and conditions, we need to think of something that becomes the causes and conditions that give rise to happiness in this life and that of our future life. Because as we mentioned earlier, that none of us, want sufferings, and none of us do not want happiness. Happiness is something that we all seek to achieve, and suffering is something that we all, have no desire to achieve. In other words, no desire for all sufferings. So, since this is the case, then we should begin to, without any procrastination, we should begin to do something that becomes a cause for our happiness of this life and that of our future life. And everything that we do at this time, at present, in other words, has the consequences. If one engages in something that is wholesome, and suddenly one will experience a wholesome result. If something that is unwholesome, then suddenly one will experience unwholesome result. This is the nature of phenomena. The fact of result that concomitant to its own cause. So therefore, we are always we also talked about mindfulness here. We'll always be mindful of what we are doing. This is what it is teaching here. We'll always be mindful of what we are doing. What kind of actions that we are taking, either be it as a bodily action, mental action, or verbal. We should be mindful of that. And making sure that one's actions of the body, speech, and mind, you know, doesn't become a causes condition which give rise to suffering of ourselves. Because if we engage in, actions of the body, speech, and mind that are unwholesome, then result with experience by the individual who actually accumulated that causes and conditions. And this result will be not shared by anyone else, but it is the individual who actually engages in this actions of the body, speech, and mind. So therefore, in brief, it says, whenever we engages in that, think about what it says, everything that comes from your mindfulness. The mindfulness is very, very important. Mindfulness plays a critical role in our practice.
So we should say the dedication prayers, beginning with prayers after teachings on page 23 and 24, and then continue with auspicious wishes on page 28. Daki jine sabe gewande denan roa kola gambena kebara jesu rosan romaye tembe nyukore do saje jo saji poki joshe medora rera ne ye jamati sanji jido binde goye roge nanda jina jeba sho Yana lama san rame chuje pela rojuje Sada lamji yudhe razo ne doje changi kopan yudo sho Mandala kane atayame Chitsuname kwasera tenche Nanga jane chojo jihana Rosa tembe drume sonji Roye mese tatu ne juruji Kowe shinkansu pedan dewa madu juvene Chiri sema tenze jandoyi Yabe sete patu ten juruji Cheta jemba na kondo zambo teyan tejende Teta kunji jiru daluji Pewa teta tamji roto Yusun jibe jawa tamji Noa kana choto ngapate Dagi givi saban degunja Sambo chuji roto wara